if you truly wish to transform your life, allow me to tell you something that may not be comfortable to hear. Look within yourself with absolute honesty. I spent my life studying the human mind, and I discovered that it is not the external world that imprisons us the most, but what we silently carry inside. Unacknowledged desires, unconfessed guilt, fears we prefer to hide. The common man believes he controls his actions consciously, but the truth is that very often the unconscious directs his life, and he calls this destiny. Therefore, the first step to changing your life for the better is to stop running away from yourself. Ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What truth about myself am I afraid to face? Transformation begins the moment you have the courage to name what you hide. Being honest with yourself does not mean judging yourself, but rather recognizing your contradictions. You want to be loved, yet you fear rejection. You want to grow, yet you sabotage yourself. You seek peace, yet you nurture resentment. All of this is part of the human condition. Accepting this complexity is the beginning of true freedom. The second revelation I offer you is this: your emotions do not disappear simply because you ignore them. They remain alive, hidden, and return as anxiety, physical symptoms, or sudden bursts of anger. That is why you must express them. Write, speak, seek a space for analysis or listening. What does not find words returns in the form of suffering. The third is perhaps the most liberating. Your vulnerabilities are not weaknesses, but sources of strength. When you acknowledge your fragilities, you create space to grow from them. The man who pretends to be unshakable is the most fragile, for he lives surrounded by masks. But the one who admits his wounds finds in them the opportunity to build true resilience. Finally, let me tell you this: the freedom you seek is not found in doing whatever you want, but in taking responsibility for who you are. Most people fear responsibility because it requires discipline and courage, but only those who accept it discover the strength to live an authentic life. If you wish to change your life for the better, do this. Look within, name your truths, express your emotions, embrace your vulnerability, and take responsibility for yourself. Change will not come from the outside, but from within. It is there, in the silence of your own mind, that the true revolution begins. In the first part, I urge you to look within yourself with honesty, to recognize the hidden truths of your mind. Now, let us go deeper. Many of your struggles, your anxieties, your compulsions arise not from the world outside, but from forces buried in your unconscious. These are the memories, impulses, and unresolved conflicts that you have long denied or ignored. In my practice, I have seen countless individuals who believe themselves to be free, only to discover that their thoughts and behaviors were guided by forgotten fears and unspoken desires. The mind is not a passive instrument. It is a living labyrinth, and the unconscious is the architect. To change your life, you must confront what lies beneath the surface. The exercise I give you today is this: observe your thoughts and impulses as if you were a neutral witness. Do not judge yourself. Do not react with anger or shame. Simply note what arises. Ask yourself, why do I think this? What past experience shaped this desire or fear? This is not a one-time task. It is a daily discipline, a meditation of the mind. Consider your reactions to people around you. Why do certain words anger you? Why do certain situations bring sudden anxiety or fear? Often, these responses are echoes of earlier experiences, memories buried in the unconscious that still control you. Awareness is the first step to liberation. Freud discovered that repression, the act of bearing unpleasant experiences, is a double-edged sword. While it allows survival in childhood, it creates tension in adulthood. The very mechanisms that once protected you now limit your freedom. By examining your thoughts and confronting these buried elements, you reclaim power over your life. Another element I must emphasize is responsibility. You cannot control all circumstances or other people, but you can control your own responses. This is the bridge between psychoanalysis and practical life. Awareness alone is insufficient. It must be paired with deliberate action. Recognize the impulses you uncover and choose consciously how to respond. Here is a practical exercise. For 7 days, write down 3 moments each day when you felt a strong emotion: anger, fear, desire, or shame. Then ask, What past experience or unresolved feeling does this connect to? With time, patterns will emerge. You will begin to see the invisible threads that have guided your behavior for years. This process is not comfortable. You will encounter shame, regret, and discomfort. That is precisely why it works. The truth hidden within is often painful, but facing it is what transforms you. Strength comes not from denial, but from insight. Courage is the willingness to meet your own mind honestly. By confronting the unconscious, you take the second step toward changing your life. You stop being driven by hidden forces and start directing your actions consciously. The freedom that comes from this awareness is profound. It is a foundation upon which all further growth, discipline, virtue, and self-mastery will be built. Now that you have begun observing your thoughts and confronting the unconscious, it is time to understand one of the most powerful forces in your life: desire. Desire drives much of what you think, feel, and do. Yet most people are unaware of its hidden influence. They believe they are acting rationally, but often they're guided by impulses rooted in past experiences, childhood wounds, or unacknowledged needs. In my studies, I observed that repression, the act of pushing away unacceptable desires or emotions, does not eliminate them. Instead, it buries them where they continue to shape behavior. The person who denies anger may explode in rage unexpectedly. The person who represses sexual or creative desire may experience frustration and emptiness. Unconscious drives manifest subtly, influencing decisions, relationships, and even health. The first step in mastering desire is awareness. Begin by asking yourself, what do I truly want? What am I chasing and why? Reflect not only on immediate cravings, but also on long-term patterns. Are you seeking pleasure to escape discomfort? Are you seeking approval to fill a hidden void? Recognize the difference between genuine needs and compensatory impulses. The second step is discipline. Desire, when unchecked, enslaves you. I have seen countless adults, even in positions of power, who are ruled by impulses they refuse to understand. They chase pleasure, avoid discomfort, or suppress guilt, thinking these strategies bring happiness. But they only produce anxiety, inner conflict, and stagnation. Self-mastery comes from consciously regulating impulses, not eliminating them entirely. A practical exercise: identify one recurrent desire that seems irresistible, a habit, a craving, or a compulsive behavior. For 1 week, observe it closely. Note the triggers, the emotions involved, and your immediate response. Then, consciously choose an alternative action that aligns with your long-term goals or values. This is how you transform desire from a hidden dictator into a conscious guide. The third step is integration. True psychological health does not reject desire. It acknowledges and channels it. The creative mind, the loving heart, and the courageous soul are nourished by desire, but only when it is understood and directed. By integrating previously repressed drives into conscious awareness, you gain energy, clarity, and authenticity. Remember, the hidden forces of the unconscious are not enemies. They are powerful allies when properly understood. Awareness transforms repression into insight, chaos into order, and longing into purposeful action. For those between 35 and 55 years old, this step is especially critical. By this age, patterns of avoidance, habit, and repression are deeply ingrained, but it is never too late. Each act of conscious reflection and deliberate choice rewires the mind, building the foundation for a life lived intentionally, free from the tyranny of hidden drives. Master your desires, confront your unconscious, and you reclaim control. This is the third step on the path to changing your life for the better. Awareness, discipline, and integration of your inner drives lead to the freedom and transformation you seek. We have explored self-honesty and the mastery of hidden desires. Now, let's address one of the most universal and crippling experiences of human life: anxiety and fear. These emotions are not merely obstacles. They are messages from the unconscious, signals of unresolved conflict, unacknowledged desires, or repressed trauma. To ignore them is to prolong suffering. To confront them is to gain freedom. In my work, I observe that most people attempt to flee from anxiety. They distract themselves with work, entertainment, or habitual pleasures. They tell themselves that fear is irrational or must be avoided. Yet repression does not eliminate anxiety. it magnifies it. The longer it is denied, the more it infiltrates your thoughts, decisions, and relationships, often without your conscious awareness. The first principle I urge you to adopt is this: do not flee for what frightens you. Observe it, name it, and understand it. Anxiety is often a signal that something within you demands attention. What is the hidden fear behind your irritability? Behind your procrastination? Behind your sudden panic or unease? By asking these questions, you transform fear from a tyrant into a teacher. A practical exercise. Each evening, reflect on moments when anxiety arose. Write them down and explore what triggered them. Were these fears rational? Were they echoes of past experiences or unresolved conflicts? How did you respond, and how might you respond differently next time? By repeatedly confronting your fears, you train your mind to face discomfort consciously rather than react unconsciously. The second principle is gradual exposure. Just as you would train a muscle, the mind grows stronger through deliberate confrontation. Start with small anxieties, minor irritations, short-term uncertainties. Face them deliberately, accept the discomfort, and observe your reactions. Over time, you gain resilience, and what once seemed overwhelming becomes manageable. The third principle is integration. Anxiety contains valuable information. It often points to desires, boundaries, or conflicts you have ignored. By facing fear, you uncover truths about yourself. Truths that, when acknowledged, empower you to act with clarity and intentionality. Your mind is no longer a battlefield of hidden forces. It becomes a laboratory of insight and self-mastery. For men and women between 35 and 55 years old, this step is crucial. By this stage of life, patterns of avoidance and fear may be deeply embedded, but it is never too late. Every conscious confrontation strengthens the mind, enabling you to navigate both internal and external challenges with courage and composure. To summarize, anxiety is not your enemy. It is your guide. By observing, confronting, and integrating your fears, you transform them into instruments of growth. This is a fourth step in changing your life for the better. Resilience built through awareness and conscious engagement with the unconscious mind. Now that you've confronted your unconscious, understood your desires, and faced your fears, we arrive at a principle that underlies all lasting transformation: responsibility. True change does not come from luck, external circumstances, or fleeting motivation. It comes from deliberately taking ownership of your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Many people live in illusion. They blame others for their unhappiness, circumstances for their failures, or the past for their regrets. Yet this external focus is a form of denial. It abdicates control over your own life. To change, you must recognize that the power to shape your existence lies primarily in your response to what occurs, not in controlling everything around you. I urge you to adopt this exercise. For every decision, ask yourself, am I acting from awareness or am I reacting unconsciously? This practice requires patience, but it gradually rewires your behavior. Small, conscious choices compound into profound transformation. The man who disciplines his daily actions, even in minor matters, builds a character that can face life's larger challenges. Freud observed that repression and avoidance often lead to self-sabotage. People claim to want happiness, love, or success, but their unconscious conflicts drive them to repeat the same patterns. Taking responsibility is the antidote. It is the act of becoming fully aware of the motives behind your actions and deliberately aligning them with the life you wish to lead. A practical method. Each evening, review your day. Identify moments when you acted reactively, when anger, fear, or desire dictated your choices. Then imagine how you could have responded consciously, aligned with your values. This reflection is not for judgment, but for insight. By consistently practicing this, you reclaim authority over your mind and your life. Responsibility also extends to your emotions. Do not dismiss them, do not blame them, but recognize them as information. Your anger, anxiety, or sadness signals unmet needs, unresolved conflicts, or hidden desires. By taking ownership of these feelings, rather than projecting them onto others, you prevent them from controlling your behavior unconsciously. For men and women between 35 and 55, this exercise is critical. At this stage, life has already delivered lessons through success and failure, joy, and loss. By embracing responsibility, you stop being a passive participant and become the conscious architect of your remaining years. You turn insight into action, thought into choice, and awareness into power. In essence, freedom and transformation begin where responsibility begins. The path to a better life is paved not with luck, but with deliberate, conscious choices, informed by self-knowledge and courage. Ownership of your mind, emotions, and actions is the pen with which you write your destiny.